Let's start with the definition of what APS is, right? So alternative practice structures, where you separate out the attest work into, like, you keep the attest work in the CPA firm, and then you create a new non-CPA firm entity that does everything else, consulting, tax, administration, but they're like really closely connected because they're leasing employees back and forth, and the non-audit entity is providing management, all that. So the APS will now be defined based on economic substance and not legal form. And that's a really big deal because firms doing this have been able to get out of their independence obligations under the old rules because they created this new legal structure and the rules didn't apply. But now it'll be economic substance, not legal form. So the attest firm and the non-attest entity are treated as closely aligned when the attest firm depends heavily on the non-attest entity for staff, infrastructure, and administration. So the non-attest entity is like doing all the management of the attest entity. They are closely aligned now. You cannot escape. And that would justify treating the non-attest entity as if it were part of the attest firm for independence purposes. Second big change is the non-attest entity and entities it controls must comply with the same independence requirements as the attest firm as a result of that closely aligned structure.
So even though you have two structures, you still have to keep that independence. You can't have an excuse, well, that's a different business, so they don't have to be independent.
Different entity, right. So the non-attest entity has to also comply with the same independence requirements.
That's really smart.
All right. The third thing is that there are broader audit prohibitions in the private equity structures. So if an investor has significant influence or control over the non-attest entity, then the firm can't audit other portfolio companies in the same fund. So if you have private equity investing in your firm, you can't audit their portfolio companies.